Welcome to Professor Game Podcast, where we interview successful practitioners of games, gamification, and game thinking who brings the best of their experiences to get ideas, insights, and inspiration that help us in the process of getting the students to learn what we teach. And I'm Rob Alvarez. I teach and work at IE Business School in Madrid, where we create interactive and engaging learning materials. Want to know more? Go to professorgame.com/subscribe, start on our email list, and ask me anything.
Engagers, welcome once again to the Professor Game Podcast. And today I think we're kind of in a rant of special episodes, but this is also a special episode. Not only because we have two guests who are repeat guests, but because we're not going to be talking about our typical questions. We're going to be talking about a summit. And to leave that suspense for a few seconds more before we start, Alyea, David, are you prepared to engage?
Always.
Yes, indeed.
Let's do this because we have this special episodes where we'll be discussing all about the Playful Creative Summit with Alyea Sandovar and David Chislett. If you want to know about them, if you want to know about their failures, their success, their process, all of those things, you can find it on the show notes. You can just click there or go to episodes 166 and 162. Of course, you can see their intros and all the interesting things that they've been doing. But today, the center stage is not about David and Alyea only. They'll be sharing the stage with the Playful Creative Summit. And the first question is, why even bother to do something like this? We were talking in the pre-interview chat, how much work it implies. And again, I'm not going to ask you if you're making money or not. That's not relevant. The whole effort of doing this is huge. And typically I would say it's not about the money. So why did you even bother to go and do something like this? What motivated you to dive deep in and put your feet into the mud in that sense?
It's all Alyea's fault. It was her idea. But I think really it's just a really good alignment of purpose for us both. For me in particular, I see creativity as a massively important tool for change in the world and for positive change. And by organizing something like the summit and being able to broadcast en masse messages from many playful and creative practitioners from all over the world about what they're doing, how they do it, and why they do it to inspire and inform as many other people as possible definitely is really good with my overarching purpose in my life.
Nice. How about you, Alyea? Why did you convince David? Push him into the borders.
Yes. Well, much like David, I think for me, it was also a bit of, in addition to what he said, it was also a bit of creating something new and unique in itself. It's a new creative endeavor. It's a bit like our little baby. And I love creating things. I love making things. I have a game design background. So the idea of putting something together that was unique was really important and really cool. And bringing our strengths together, because David has a strong background in creativity, having had experience in music and journalism. And then I had the background in games. So it just seemed like a really cool thing to try to bring together and see what could happen. So a bit of an experiment. And in terms of the concept itself, I really, as an academic, you know what it's like when we go to so many of these conferences and they're so expensive. And that means that only a certain type of person gets to attend these conferences, either because they have well-funded programs or they come from a certain part of the world, and then other people don't actually have access to that information because they can't get there. And of course, this was all pre-March of 2020. But at the time, the idea that we had was to allow access to really cool concepts by professionals around the world to everyone around the world with an internet access. And it was, an experiment the first time that we did it to see if we could do it. And of course, then when we got so much feedback and we saw the ripple effects, that motivated us to do a second edition. And That's why we're doing it again, because you're right. It is a labor of love. We've been working on it for 6 months already, since October, or even earlier. David, when did we start meeting?
Yeah, September. I believe.
Yeah. And so it is, and at the moment we're almost practically working on it full time until the summit launches on April 21st. But yeah, I think that's my answer.
I want to say it's long-winded, but not really. I mean, it made a lot of sense to have all these things put together. So yeah, thank you for that answer. Thank you for all that inspiration. I always like to thank especially conference organizers, because again, as we were saying, it is definitely a labor of love. There is a lot of that. I mean, unless you are sort of an event organizer, a professional events organizer, this is typically something that is going to take a lot more work than the monetary rewards that you could get out of this, the extrinsic rewards. So here I would say the rewards and the motivations is a lot more intrinsic in that sense. So thank you very much for putting this together, for putting in that effort and achieving all the fantastic things that you're achieving. And now that we know why you're going to do it, I mean, I'm sure that there's people who have heard of it before, but there's many in the audience who have never heard of the Playful Creative Summit. So what is it all about? How does it work, this Playful Creative Summit? You mentioned something about it being accessible to many people. What else can you tell us about the conference, the summit, actually?
Well, the main thing is that access to the main body of the content is completely free. So once you head on over to playfulcreativesummit.com and register, that's it. You have access to the content from the 21st till the 25th of April. What we also do is that we don't run a fixed timeline within the conference. So on the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of the summit, we publish new interviews on each of those days. But at the end of each day, the interviews don't disappear. They stay available. So if you only log in on Friday, you can still watch the material from Wednesday and Thursday. And because, even at the moment with working at home, people still will struggle possibly to access as much content as there is, we keep that open all the way up until the end of the Sunday. So you can binge watch your weekend away on the Playful Creative Summit.
And we also have 50 speakers. And
50, 50 now.
50. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, we have 50 speakers from around the world. And we all of our recordings, or rather the speaking, is pre-recorded. So the main body of it is pre-recorded, and that's why people have the flexibility to catch whatever they want when they want. In addition to that, to try to make it a little bit easier, we have created 4 tracks. That way, if you wish to focus your energy or you want to learn something and you want to focus on a track, then you can. And such as, out of the box thinking, or perhaps you're interested in using creativity or playfulness to build a business. So you can choose a track, and that might help you in supporting you as a professional or as a consultant to get more playfulness and creativity in your work.
So what are those tracks? What do the tracks look like?
Oh, now you're asking complicated questions. There's 4 of them.
This is like a test, a very difficult one.
Can we remember all of our tracks off the top of our heads? So there's 4 tracks: tapping into your innate creativity, maintaining a creative or playful mindset, out of the box playful and creative solutions,
and playful experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Impressive. You did remember each and every one.
Well, I have Google Documents open next to me. Quickly scrolling.
In Spanish, there is this term that we use a lot in Latin America, which is the chuleta. That's when you have, the thing that you can read. If you're in a test where you have to memorize things, you don't. You have this little document, hidden document, because it's not legal to do this in tests, of course, where you read all those things. So you had your chuleta right there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds fantastic. That sounds great. So those are the tracks. What kind of people are you targeting? Like, if you say, oh, who is the ideal person who would want to come to the Playful Creative Summit?
Yeah, so for us, I think people who are looking to refresh their toolbox with some creative ideas or playful ideas. That could be business owners, consultants, trainers. And of course, we do get a healthy set of creatives on their own right because of who's speaking. And but I think who would most benefit from our summit are people who are not yet, or they don't think of themselves as creatives, or they don't think of themselves as playful people, but they are. They just maybe need a little nudge to show them how.
Yeah, and as you've no doubt noticed, watching social media feeds, suddenly, of course, working from home, pandemic, and all of that, a lot more people are suddenly going, hang on, I actually do need creative solutions to just my everyday work. And not everybody has the confidence that they can actually do that. So, we really are aiming at the ordinary people in the world who just suddenly have a great need for ideas and inspiration and tools and tricks to help them just get on with what has now become normal life.
So there's plenty of people who fit into that profile for sure, and who can use creativity. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
One of the exercises I like to do with my students when talking about game design and gamification is, everybody can be creative. And I'm sure you have plenty of more stuff there and plenty more tools, because I'm not all, creativity is an important part of my life, but I'm not all about creativity. I don't sort of study it. I actually have a colleague I was talking to recently who is all about creativity. But it's one of those things that everybody has that potential. The question is where it is that you need it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, creativity is not a one-level phenomenon. It's perfectly normal to be a highly creative, high-detail accountant type person, just as much as it is to be the sort of stereotypical, eccentric, wildly creative artist. Both of those things are still creative at heart, but the skill set that is pushed through the capacity to be creative is what differs, and therefore what comes out the other end differs. But in essence, the thing, creativity, remains the same.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. And we've talked about the audience and who would be sort of the ideal people who would come. And hopefully, I'm sure many of the engagers could be a central part of that audience. And it's free. So you're essentially not risking anything. Who are the people? I know 50 is a large number, so you don't have to refer and read through those 50 guests that you're having. But maybe a few highlights, maybe a few names, but what are the profiles that you're fitting into there? And what are the kinds of things that you want to make sure are, well, and you already made sure because you're already recording them. Like, what is that looking like? How's that configuration coming?
Yeah, so, we have, of course, people with different backgrounds, right? So we have a few folks that come from games, from game design, or from gamification, and they're talking about different topics and from their own perspectives. We also have people who consider themselves as playful professionals, right? They consult companies on how to play. That's slightly different than games or gamification, but
yes.
It's just workshops or how to help people get out of their boxes and to just come up with creative solutions through play. And we also have like someone who's a doctor of Eastern medicine, who uses play as a way to empower people to learn about their bodies, as well as like an interfaith minister who also uses play to help people understand the concept of source or God. So it can be quite varied. I don't know, David, if you want to talk about some other folks who you're interviewing.
Yeah. So we also have, professional creatives, filmmakers, storytelling experts, even authors, writers. and someone also from Colombia who is a musician and who uses play and music together in a professional context. So there's a really wide range of disciplines.
Yeah, and ironically, I'm not sure if this was on purpose or not, but I think we have 4 Colombians speaking. I don't know if that's a personal, like, I don't know how that happened, but yeah, I think so. And we also, of course, have interaction designers. We have someone who works at Google. We have someone who works at Twitch, who's a software engineer who will be speaking. Of course, artists, as you said.
A pirate. And, we've also got a pirate.
A pirate. Yeah, indeed. And I'm just trying to think of who else we sort of have as a kind of general. We have interaction designers who design playful experiences for social impact. So that they come from California, and then we also have someone who is a performance activist who uses play. She is someone who created something called the Global Play Brigade, and they use performance activism in play to get people engaged. So there's quite a variety there of folks with very diverse backgrounds. And of course, there's us, right? We are also speaking. So, yeah.
Very interesting. Those are some very interesting highlights. But of course, if we want to find the list of the full list, we can, and we haven't mentioned the webpage yet. It might be a good time to mention where the webpage is, where we can find more about the Playful Creative Summit, and also, of course, where we can find the full list. Like, I'm looking for this person who will be speaking at the summit. Is he or she there? Well, where can we find that list as well?
That's all on our homepage, which is very easy, playfulcreativesummit.com.
There you go, engagers.
Yeah, and you'll find all the speakers on the front page right away, as well as our sponsors. And this year, we're also having interactive workshops. So some of our speakers are sponsoring their time to create interactive activities for people who decide to also sponsor the summit. So it's an extra bonus for folks who
an added bonus. Interesting.
Yeah. And so and then of course we do have a schedule upcoming, but we're a bit creative and organic with the way we do our schedule. We're currently working on it, but we usually wait till we're done with all our interviews to finalize it and put it up. But you will get a chance to have a full schedule that tells you who's released when, right?
Who's who?
Who's who. And yeah, I think that's good. And we will have ways for you to contact the speaker. So, around the video of each speaker, we not only have their bio, but also contact links so you can connect with them. And as well as some speakers are giving something, are offering something to attendees. So they might be offering them a coupon for something, or they might be offering them a free session or something, or perhaps an ebook. So that will be linked around the videos also.
Yeah.
So interesting. So many things to dive into. It seems, I mean, if you think that 50 speakers and talks are not enough in a summit, I don't know what kind of summit you want to go to. I will be honestly surprised. Like, what do you want to do? You want to spend a whole month there? Like, what's your thing?
Well, we've also got 6 live interactive sessions on top of that.
6? Wow, nice.
Yeah, and we have 2 networking sessions, 2 play sessions, and then 2 workshops.
Very, very interesting. So many possibilities. I'm guessing that those are the ones that are behind a paywall. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah, those are for those who choose to sponsor the summit. But we do, because we are conscientious, that people have different economic levels, and there are different ways in which we're offering those. So folks can, for example, choose to attend just the interactive workshops for one day. And if you do that, then that's 11 euros. Or maybe you want to just get them all, and then that's 25 euros to attend all of them.
Yeah. But if you're super smart and you decide to sign up and become a co-sponsor before the 21st of April, you can also sign up for the All Access Playground Pass, which gives you access to all of the live interactive sessions, as well as access to the pre-recorded interviews after the summit is officially closed, right up until the 31st of March in 2022. And the early bird special for that is still running, and that's 57 euros for the whole lot.
Huh. All right. So that's what it looks like if you want to sponsor. Of course, there are things that the creators of the summit, so Alyea and David, need to pay for. They need to pay the bills. So let's help them pay the bills if we can. I mean, it's not even expensive. Typically, you think of conferences, and they're usually, around the hundreds of euros. This is not even in the hundreds. It's
no.
20s, the 30s, the 10s even of euros. So I think it is very, very reasonable to help out if you can. Again, if you can't, well, you can go to the free sessions. There's going to be 50. I've repeated this like 100 times, but it's crazy for me to think 50 sessions in something like this. But there are 50 sessions, so much value that I'm sure you can extract from that. And I know we've been through quite a few things about the conference, and there's many differentiators here. But would you say there is something that you haven't mentioned, that like what else or what actually makes the Playful Creative Summit different from other summits, conferences, and these types of gatherings?
It's playful. I mean, seriously, it's. Have you looked at the homepage? We're not dry at all. We're big believers in walking the walk that we're talking. So we wear our hearts on our sleeves, and it's very much who and what we are. We have crazy photographs of us with various pieces of fruit doing all sorts of stupid stuff. We had a big interactive session with a whole bunch of our speakers last night, and I swear I have never seen so many lunatics in one room, digital room, all at one time. So there's a lot of really vibrant, playful, sparkling, creative energy going on. It's, summits, if you think of ordinary conventions, conferences, can be so dry. We're not at all.
Yeah. And I also would say that most of the time when you attend summits or conferences, what you have is people giving a presentation. And our speakers, we're really having a conversation with them about a particular topic. And so it's more what we would call like a video podcast with a focus than it is someone just throwing some slides up on a screen and then sharing a concept. So it's more conversational. And of course, every single speaker has to answer our bowl of doom questions. So we've created these really, really quirky, sometimes a little bit naughty questions. And they get to pick some of these questions without knowing what they're going to get and answer them. And that's the beginning of the conversation. Of course, depending on the speaker, some speakers are a little bit more concrete, some are a little bit more quirky, and their personality just comes through. But it is lighthearted, it is easygoing, it is conversational. You're not just going to be sitting there watching a screen, having people go slide after slide, but if you enjoy podcasts, if you enjoy audiobooks, you'll enjoy the summit.
Yeah. So, Rob, for example, pick a number between 1 and 8.
54, kidding. 7.
7. What color underwear are you wearing, if any?
Let me check. It's 2 colors. So it has red wine and gray mix.
Yeah.
All right. So, that's just it's a quick example question of just, asking kinds of questions that speakers are totally not expecting, totally getting them to just go, all right. And then we dive into it.
Interesting. So many different things going on and many different ways to keep people entertained and to grab attention, which is something that is definitely necessary every once in a while. And talking about grabbing attention, I mean, especially when these things, they can be a little bit of a grind, especially on the organizer side. Of course, there is a lot of work involved. I mean, I'm a podcaster and an interviewer at essence. So the interview side is probably the fun side, but then you have to edit, you have to upload, there's so many things as well that you have to take care of. And I'm sure eventually you'll be sort of getting tired and you want to sort of get over that. But beyond getting excited about this being over in a way and getting rid of those tedious tasks that you also have to do, what has you really excited about the Playful Creative Summit? Like, what is it that you're looking for? Why can't you wait to get to the start date of the summit?
Well, for me, I can't wait to see who comes to play. Last year was a revelation. The interest, the positive feedback, the reactions, just the sheer number of people that we were able to reach and that came along. I'm really excited to see where that goes to this year. For me, that is what it makes it all worthwhile. And what about you, Alyea?
Yeah, I'm actually super excited about the interactive sessions. I think they're going to be super fun. And as David mentioned, we just had a sort of taste of that with our speakers. We had like a private meeting with them, a private networking meeting. And if that is an example of what's yet to come, I think we're really just going to have a blast. I'm looking forward to not just who's coming to play, who's coming into our playpen, but also like the communities that's gathering around this, right? Like it feels like it's growing, and yeah, we're just excited, or I'm excited about the interacting and connecting with people in a playful, fun way. Yeah.
Absolutely. That is very exciting indeed. One of the things that I enjoy most about conferences and bringing it to online is always difficult, is all about those interactions, right? Like the networking, the level of connection that you get from these things is something that I very much look forward to having. In online, it's different. Face-to-face is different from online. So there's things to gain and to obtain in each of these mediums, and all the affordances, as designers say, right? That you can have on each medium. So what would you say, like, if people are there, well, actually, you mentioned it. You can talk to the speakers, you can find their interactions. Is there a way in which you can interact actually with other conference attendees besides, of course, if you decide to become a sponsor? Or is that one of the things you want? Like, people who sponsor are people who are into it, and that's the way to
I mean, the live interactive sessions is probably the place where interaction can occur between the attendees themselves, all the attendees, and not just attendees and speakers. But we are also hosting a pre-summit live networking pop-up, which is exactly what it sounds like, to get people who are interested in the summit together to chat and to exchange interests and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think the crucial thing is that well, I mean, it's not really so much focused around the attendees being able to talk to each other, except really in the interactive ones. Alyea, am I missing something?
No, that's correct. We have toyed around with the idea of sort of creating either some sort of membership interactive event post the summit. And last year we tried a little bit of chats with the speakers in their videos, but it becomes really complicated when you have people from so many different time zones across the world.
Yeah.
And of course, it's very popular. We've seen it, that people have Facebook groups accompanying the summits as a way to get people engaged. But I think for both David and I, that doesn't quite fit for us at the moment, because we really like the in the moment engagement, and we like the idea of like interacting, connecting, making those connections right then and there, and then yeah, and then it's closed and then it starts again. I guess it's like Clubhouse type of experience. Yeah, because the also, I mean, to be very frank, for us, there's so much work, and it's the two of us, and we have a little help with a couple people, but it's just the two of us. So to launch a summit this big and also manage a social network at the same time, it's not possible for us at this time. So the interactivity is, it's a Clubhouse experience and the interactive sessions. And of course, before the pop-ups that we've been having, and the pre-summit pop-up on April 7th, that's when people can come and meet the speakers. It's for free also. You can connect with them, network, that kind of thing.
Cool. Sounds very, very interesting. Is there anything that we have left off the table at this point before we give some closure to this discussion that you haven't mentioned? Of course, repeat us the webpage in case somebody didn't pay attention, playfulcreativesummit.com. You can say it again, of course. Is there anything that we have sort of left out that you want to mention before we take off?
I think we kind of covered it. Alyea?
Yeah, I think we covered it all, but I just say, come play with us. What you doing? Just, like come play, come enjoy. And I guess I'll close with an anecdote that last year my sister called me out of the blue, and she said that just from listening to one video, she was inspired to start her own business. So this is a kind of level of inspiration, playfulness, creativity, engagement, ideas that we just want to spread across the world. And if you're ready for something new and exciting, then come join us.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Let's take over the world.
So thank you very much.
Let's take over the world.
Let's do this. And thank you again very much, David and Alyea, not only for, investing this time in talking about the conference today, but especially for organizing the whole summit. As we've been mentioning many times, this is definitely a work of love that is involved there. There's a lot of work involved. I know you have jobs well beyond the summit itself. So basically, I wanted to thank you very much for doing that. Thank you for coming in here today and offering this opportunity as well to the engagers of going to playfulcreativesummit.com, registering even for free, and have, 55 different talks from different speakers with Alyea, with David, of course, interviewing them in a very completely different format to what you typically think of in a summit, in a conference. However, at least for now and for today, it is time to say that it's game over. Hey, engagers, thank you for listening to the Professor Game podcast. And as you know, we always like to have you around and asking questions and interacting with the podcast. So how about you let us know what you thought, what you think about this summit that is happening. If you're attending, we would love to be there. So let's connect. Let's do so through Twitter. It's where I share most of the content. You can find me at professorgame.com/Twitter. There it'll pop you right into my account. As you know, I'm always sharing content around gamification, game-based learning, game-based solutions, especially around education and learning. And of course, before you go ahead and click continue, please go ahead and follow on your favorite podcast app. Follow this podcast so that you can listen to the next episode of Professor Game. See you there.